Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take on a Monday. Glad you could join us. We are broadcasting live for you to try to give you the best information that we can in regards to the coronavirus. Boy, how was your weekend? What did you do over the weekend in Las Vegas? We're opening up the phone lines, too. We want to hear from you. This is about you. We want to hear about your trials and tribulations. How are you dealing with this very, very difficult issue? Unprecedented times. I tell you, I walked out of my apartment today, and I said to myself, is this for real? Is this a dream? Am I going to wake up, and is this thing gone? It just doesn't seem real. Look at what is going on in society right now. It's crazy. So we'll get to your phone calls here in a few minutes at 257-5396. And look, for the next hour, I'm not going to be trashing our president. I'm not going to be trashing his administration. But I think for a few minutes, it is important to talk a little bit about leadership. That's what we need right now. We need a leader. We need somebody that is going to calm the country and somebody that is going to give us factual information. To me, that's what leadership is all about. I'm not sure we're getting that right now. Let me give you an example of that. For the people out there that are saying, the Trump supporters, that are saying that Trump is showing incredible leadership. Well, I want to play you a little bit of audio. This is audio from Friday. The President of the United States asked a very, very, very legitimate question, and we'll discuss it afterwards. His name is Peter Alexander. He's a reporter, I believe, for CNBC, if I'm not mistaken. NBC, I apologize. And I think he's a decent reporter. So this is in the White House, and he's asked what I would consider to be a hit it out of the ballpark type of question. So here's the question that Peter Alexander asked, and listen to Trump's response, and then you tell me if you think this is leadership. Here it is.
The Americans were scared, though. I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast.
So
I don't call it Comcast. I call it Concast. Let me just for whom you work. Let me just tell you something. That's really bad reporting.
Okay, first of all, explain to me what is wrong with that question. There are Americans that are scared. That's very factually accurate. I'm one of them. I'm scared. We're all scared. Talk to the American people. What would you say to the American people that are scared? We had Dina Titus on last week. I asked her that same question. She gave me a great response. We had one of the Clark County commissioners on, Commissioner Weekly, I believe, on Friday. I asked him that same question. He didn't respond that way. He answered the question. So is that leadership? I don't say a lot of nice things about our vice president, but our vice president was asked that same question. Look at the difference and listen to the way he responded. Have a listen to this.
I would say do not be afraid, be vigilant. All the experts tell us that the risk of serious illness to the average American for the coronavirus is low. But we need every American to put into practice the president's coronavirus guidelines, 15 days to slow the spread.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, good answer. He gave you some factual information, and he answered it. That's what leadership is. So my question to you, is the president really showing leadership here? Yesterday, in a press conference yesterday, the first thing the president did was attack the media. That's the first thing the president did. Obviously, that tells me that's the first thing that's on his mind. Maybe not the well-being of the American people. He's thinking about himself. That is not the definition of leadership, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. And now he wants to end this lockdown. But we talked a little bit about...
Do you know why?
Hold on.
He wants to end the lockdown, Brian?
Well, obviously the economy. And I think he's thinking about his reelection in 2020. But let me get to Fauci. I just want to get to Fauci real quick, and then I want to get your response to Fauci. So... Dr. Fauci was asked about some of the statements that he's made about the lockdown, some of the statements that are not factually accurate he's made about some medicines that he claims could cure the coronavirus. So this was Dr. Fauci's response over the weekend. He said, I haven't been fired. He said, the president does listen to what I say, but he also went on to say, the president does not express things in a way that I would express them because it could lead to some misunderstanding about what the facts are about a given subject. And then what Dr. Fauci says next is very telling to me. He says, I know that Trump has made some false statements on the virus. What do you want me to do? That's Dr. Fauci who's saying these things.
He also said, and I'm surprised you didn't say this as well, but I come at this from a perspective of science, and the president is coming at this from a perspective of hope, and I think that is completely reasonable.
There is a difference between hold on.
No,
there's
Brian.
a difference. Hold on. Let me just hold on.
Based on our last conversation we had. By the way, another man in Florida is now touting that drug that Trump was talking about, saying that it actually has probably helped him be treated for this.
Here's the problem
disease.
with that.
Based on the last conversation we had, Brian, it almost seems like you don't want this chloroquine, azithromycin treatment or whatever it is to actually work simply because Donald Trump is the one that is pushing, because he's not a doctor.
Okay, so let me respond to that. Hold on, let me respond to what you just said.
He's pushing this because
that's ridiculous,
of what happened in France.
That is
because with the actor out of New York City. And what happened with this man.
Let me be clear to you.
in Florida.
Brian. That is a ridiculous claim that you just made. So now I am going to defend myself because I am shocked that you just said that. I want every American to be as safe as possible and be cured ASAP. Here is my problem. There is a difference between hope and saying things that are not factually accurate. Hold on. Let me explain here. Okay? If the president did a press conference and said, listen, we have nothing to lose. We don't know if this can help you, but it might be worth a try. But he added things to that.
Like what? What did he say?
He said, I'm usually right, and I believe I'm right about this.
No,
and he
said this could be a game changer.
That's not all
which
he
it
said.
definitely could be a game changer.
That's
Brian.
not all.
This drug could potentially not be. It may not be the all in all cure.
Okay,
but it could be.
So Dr. Fauci is lying.
Legitimate. Dr. Fauci is not lying. Dr. Fauci knows about as much about this
okay,
drug
so
and,
let me
and
ask you
how
a
it
question
treats
then.
people
So let me ask
as
you a
anyone
question.
else does.
Trump,
There's only been one trial with this drug done in France.
He
Brian.
said that.
But the results of that trial had a 1 in 10,000 chance of occurring the way they did. And that is strong data to back up. And that is why New York City has agreed, or New York State has agreed, and Andrew Cuomo has agreed to start the trial tomorrow. That's why other people are talking about this drug as a potential, not a cure, but a legitimate treatment. And what's a treatment do? If you're in the hospital, if you're just sick, you're out of the hospital earlier. If you're very, very sick, you could possibly be cured of this virus. It opens up ventilators. It opens up ICU beds. It's a great thing having a legitimate treatment available, and that could absolutely be the case right now.
Okay, phone lines are jammed right now, but I will just respond to everything you just said by one statement in the words of Dr. Fauci. He said Trump has made false statements on the virus, and it is I got to get to the phone calls, but it is the president's responsibility to not make false statements on anything, especially in these times when it comes to the coronavirus. Hold on, that is the words of Dr. Fauci. Those aren't my words.
And I understand. But that statement does not apply to what he said about chloroquine and azithromycin, the Z-Pak, the hybrid drug.
Okay, well, you have to go back.
But potentially being a game. But the conversation right now is, does the United States, this disease, this virus is ravaging the United States. Obviously, we're all in lockdown. The economy, if it goes on for 6 to 9 months, like Andrew Cuomo said it was going to, that could cause irreversible damage to the economy. And Trump is starting to really realize that.
Okay, well, what he also needs to...
So if a drug... if a treatment is available to stop or to curb this virus from not only spreading but actually causing hospital beds to be totally filled up, then that is a great thing.
And that's not what he said.
And if Donald Trump thinks it could be a game changer, then I'm very hopeful that it is, because I want this thing to end just like everybody else does. And I'm surprised that you aren't hopeful that it's a game changer as well, especially with a study done in France where they have 30 people who did it.
Because unlike you, I don't.
What is the air different in France than in the United States?
You got to let me comment.
It doesn't make a difference.
Unlike
where it's at.
JD, unlike you, I'm not listening to the president when it comes to this stuff. You know who I'm listening to? The experts, the doctors. You listen to the president and you hang on every word. I don't. He's not a doctor. He's a narcissist.
Brian, I've done a lot of research, and again,
so why is Fauci downplaying it then?
Because there isn't a ton of empirical data behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's
end of conversation.
It's not end of conversation. It doesn't change the fact that it could be a game changer. And again, Donald Trump, just like you said when he said that, we'll have a vaccine done very soon. Does very soon mean 3 weeks? No, but if the standard vaccine is done in 18 months and it comes up in 8 8 months, and that is very soon in comparison to the standard vaccine.
So a guy who had all the information about this virus a couple months ago, who said everything's going to be just. Hold on, let me finish.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I totally agree. Donald Trump was totally incorrect.
You got to let me finish. You got to let me finish.
It was wrong.
Okay, you got to let me finish. A guy in the last couple months that said this is going to go down from 15 to close to 0 a month and a half ago. The guy, I'm talking about Donald Trump, by the way. Let me finish.
You're making this political, Brian.
No, I'm not making it political. I'm giving you
your
facts.
Hatred for Trump is very, very apparent right now. Your bias is very, very apparent.
I disagree.
Obviously, Donald Trump made some ridiculous statements when he didn't have a lot of knowledge of.
Not true. That's not true.
For whatever reason, he made the statements.
No, that's not true.
For whatever reason, he made the statements,
That's
Brian.
not
He
true.
made ridiculous statements.
What do you mean he didn't have the knowledge?
This was not a ridiculous statement. Saying that this cure
you
or
just
that
said
this
that's
potential
wrong.
treatment could actually be a game changer is not a ridiculous
You
statement.
just said something that's wrong. He did have the knowledge 2 months ago. And the reason why I say that is because he was briefed. Just like these Republicans and Democrats that sold off all their stocks a couple months ago. He had the information 2 months ago. That is a fact. He knew this was going to be a pandemic. In fact, hold on a second, JD. Let me use his own words to prove you wrong. Hold on. I know you want to interrupt me again. Just give me 30 seconds.
I'm not interrupting you,
okay.
Brian.
He said
you just think that you have the right
week,
to talk whenever you feel like talking.
Well, I'm the host of the show.
No matter if somebody else is talking.
I'm the host of the show. I'm just trying to respond to what you just said. And Donald
We're
Trump,
co-host, Brian.
Donald Trump said this is a pandemic, and I knew it was a pandemic before it was a pandemic. Well, guess what? A month ago, he said it wasn't a pandemic. In fact, he said the opposite. So let me ask you, which Donald Trump is lying? The one who said he knew it was a pandemic before it was a pandemic?
I'm not disputing any of that. Obviously, Donald Trump
said he didn't have the knowledge.
Was very incorrect. For whatever reason, he was very, very incorrect about what was going to take place.
He lied.
I'm not going to say that he lied, but he was definitely
There's
incorrect.
Evidence to support
but
the
I'll tell you who did probably lie. For some reason, the United States was under the impression that the virus was not transmittable from human to human. Do you know why that was?
What does that have to do with what we were just talking about?
Because information came directly from China stating that.
What does it have to do with what we were just talking about?
A lot of misinformation, and a lot of inaccurate reporting took place from the actual the origin of this virus, which was Wuhan, China, and the Chinese government. That's been happening for quite some time. And if Donald Trump wasn't fully aware of what was going on very, very early, it's because of a lack of information, because the wrong information was being transmitted to him from China.
Not true. He was. A few months ago, there were plenty of briefings. In fact, the administration was warned upwards of a year ago that this country was not ready for this pandemic. Let's go back.
It has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
It has everything to do with it, because we could have saved lives if the administration acted sooner.
And actually, Donald Trump did not. He did disband the pandemic team.
That worked out really well.
But the CDC has been getting paid more money since Donald Trump became president than ever has.
Yeah, because this is about money. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. All right, we have a full board of callers. Do you agree with JD? Do you agree with me? Let's talk it out, and we want to hear from you, our great locals out there that are listening. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Guys, good morning. May I say this? You did ask what I did over the weekend. One thing is, instead of just complaining and being negative like a lot of people, I've been researching this. Can I just throw this out to the public? When your body is deficient in vitamin A, you have a much higher probability of getting infections and viruses and things like that. And if you want, there's an article from a Harvard doctor back in 1925 called Tissue Changes Following Deprivation of Fat-Soluble Vitamin A. Dr. Walbach. You can get it on Google Scholar, Wolbach. And more recently, a book back in the 50s. They were ahead of the time. They said when you don't get enough vitamin A, the cells don't increase at the right rate, and they cause a film. And what happens is that you can't fight infections. So I've been eating a diet, somewhat high in vitamin A, trying to stay healthy. I'm 67. I'm out every day doing things, going places. I'm not sick. So let's try to take care of ourselves and get along with this.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate the phone call. I would say that I hope we have better medical information now than we did in 1925. But I appreciate the phone call.
You know what? He is right there. If you don't sleep enough, and if you have a very, very poor diet, and you're eating a lot of sugar, then your immune system is going to be lower. And that's pretty basic.
That's obvious.
That's a pretty basic. And I think that's kind of what he's saying, is that he is trying to eat better and make his immune system, like for example, I've been taking, and I don't believe that I have the coronavirus. I haven't been tested for it, but I don't have any symptoms of it. But I've been taking emergency.
You have the Trump virus.
Emergency every day. I drink hot tea with honey every single day. I try to eat a little better every single day. I try to sleep as much as I can so that my immune system is actually ready if I do come in touch with the coronavirus, that it doesn't ravage my immune system. So I think there is some truth to what he was saying.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Edward. Edward, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Edward?
I called on Jim Murin, but a quick aside of what he just said. If you look on a thing of honey, it says do not feed to infants. You know why that is? Because it can have viruses in it. So, but anyway, on Jim Murin, I think he was a bad pick. I think he doesn't have credibility with whether lower level management or union workers or even customers.
Tell people who Jim Murin is, please.
The MGM, he's been appointed to the task force on coronavirus in Nevada.
Gotcha. Okay.
Former CEO and considered the father of the resort fee.
Right, and I think he has a bad image. I don't know why he.
Yeah, I heard Jim was proposing to the supermarkets to charge everybody $15 to park at supermarkets and a $29.99 resort fee if you buy anything in the supermarket. That's a rumor. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with him, and even the white collar employees didn't like him, and he feathers the nest of big stockholders and the top executives.
You're not going to hear an argument. Listen, man, you're not going to hear an argument from me, my friend.
Maybe Penn and Teller would have been a better choice. Murin should resign.
Well, Edward, you're not going to hear an argument from me, my friend. I hear where you're going with that. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Kurt?
How you doing, guys? What's up?
Good. What's up, Kurt?
All right. I have a question, not politically motivated. It's a legitimate question.
Okay.
Is it possible that we've been walking around with this thing since November, December?
Absolutely.
And that,
100%. That's where me and JD agree.
Yeah. So for example, my cousin, we had to cancel plans with her. She had this respiratory viral infection, okay? And she was sick all through January. She went to the doctor and said, hey, you got a virus. All the exact same symptoms as the coronavirus. Okay,
Kurt,
so my cousin and his wife are convinced.
Kurt, let me give you a story real quick. Yep. Stay on the line, okay. Kurt. I want to give you a story real quick. And by the way, yeah, we agree. So I'm pretty close to several Division I college basketball coaches, and I spoke to one of the coaches 2 days ago, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I've had a relationship with him, friends with him for a long time. Doesn't coach too far from here. And he told me half of his team had one of the worst viruses he's ever seen, and this happened in January, the first week of January. Yep. And Great. He told me he's never seen anything like it. Now he told me, this is the other day, he told me he is convinced that half his team had the coronavirus.
And Liz Cambage also came out.
Here's my point. Excuse me for interrupting, but here's my point.
No problem.
Is that when we start testing and find out that 100 million Americans are walking around with this thing, and that hardly anybody is getting sick, and I don't mean to say that, flippantly. I mean,
I know what you mean.
When we find out that everybody has it, are we going to chill out and get back to life here?
Well, the thing is
I think people need to ask themselves what they're going to think, what they're going to say, if that ends up being the case. Because my cousins, my mom, she had it. They weren't tested for coronavirus.
Right.
They were tested for the flu, right? And if you look at it, and so the conversation can be, well, then are people dying of coronavirus and it's being misdiagnosed as the flu? Well, if that's the case, then the flu numbers would be higher than they usually are. And this flu season is actually pretty standard for the United States, where there's been about 30,000 deaths. The most flu deaths was actually in 2018. I believe there was 80,000 deaths. So you can't really say that there's a flu pandemic, or there's not an uptick in the flu deaths that could be attributed to the coronavirus either. And you're totally right. If there are millions of Americans walking around with this virus, then it actually makes the real mortality rate much less than the flu. And that's the problem, is we don't really know when it started circulating. And if there are, say for example, I was at the Rio 2 months ago with my wife. We were sitting down playing poker, and an Asian man sat down at the table next to us. He was probably 65 years old, and this was maybe mid-January, and he was coughing. I mean, he was coughing and coughing and coughing. And within 2 or 3 days, my wife was very, very sick. She was so sick, I had to call in a company called Reset IV and have them come in and give her a Myers cocktail. It was a $330 IV treatment, but she had 103 fever. She couldn't get out of bed.
It's an expensive cocktail.
It was. She was very, very sick. But she actually required 4 of those over the next over the next week. Thank God I won $20,000 hitting a huge royal flush on the $5 poker machine at the Rio, so I had the money to pay for it. But she was actually very, very sick, and I think that the symptoms that she had are very similar to the coronavirus. And considering the fact that particular person, considering he was Asian and the virus did start in China, there could have been transmission there, and so this virus could have been circulating for months and months and months. And there could be a lot of Americans right now with antibodies to the virus who are actually immune to it. And the more Americans that are immune to a virus like this, if it does come back and present itself again in a couple of years or in 10 years or every single season, then if you're immune to it, you can't spread it to someone else who's a high-risk group. So it's actually not a bad thing for millions of Americans to get immune to this virus if they're not experiencing, major symptoms. Even mild symptoms are okay, and or no symptoms at all.
If you're just joining us, we're taking some phone calls, 702-257-5396. In regards to this coronavirus, we've talked a little bit about Trump's response, the way he attacks reporters and continually does that. He wants to end this lockdown. Dr. Fauci saying that Trump has made some false statements on this virus. I know we have a lot of people on hold. Thank you for being patient. We're going to try to get to all of you this hour. By the way, Kurt, thank you for that phone call.
A good call, Kurt.
And we hope that you and your family stay safe. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Yeah, JD, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
JD, I got to ask you a question. What are you doing on that program?
What are you doing on this show? Stupid call. Get off. Get off the show. Dumb call.
Hey, really good call, Ron.
702-257-5396. Let's go to David. David, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, David?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Doing good.
I think that the problem we have, not only with this virus, is it shows the problem we have with society. We've become a society that expects instant gratification, and the problem
very hedonistic.
The problems we have is I'm not a scientist. I do work in an industry where we have surfaces to clean, and I had a report from a lab that came out several months ago from Germany. And one of the problems with this particular strain of this virus is the concentration levels of the known chemicals we have to actually sanitize our surfaces with. The concentration level is not enough in home products at the
So you're
EPA.
saying, Dave, can I just ask you a question? And then we only have about a minute, and I'm up against a break. I apologize. But I want to ask you, because it sounds like you know a lot about this. You make a great point. So you're saying if this coronavirus is on an object, on clothes, or on your hands, for example, you're saying some of this hand sanitizer might not be strong enough. Is that what you're saying?
You can read the reports from labs that are posted online, and what jumped out at me that was different about this virus, and you look at the concentration levels that they are recommending to actually eliminate the virus, and the time that those chemicals must dwell on the on those surfaces. When you look at the products that are approved for general population use, there's nothing out there that has the concentration level because it would be unsafe for the public to use.
Sure, understood. I'm first of all, let me just say I'm glad you brought that up. Just because you use sanitizer and just because you wash your hands 80 times a day, there's no guarantee. That doesn't mean that the virus is, you can't get the virus. Very important that you bring that up. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we want to hear from you. More of your calls, the trials and tribulations that you've had to go through. How has your Las Vegas weekend been like? What is that like for you living in Vegas, during this coronavirus? Take a quick break. Be back right after this. Nothing like a little Rolling Stones while you're in quarantine. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, broadcasting live from Brian Shapiro's kitchen, folks. That's right. Seems like just about every business is on lockdown. It's crazy. Crazy times we're living in, and this show is about you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about your trials and tribulations. What have you had to deal with? Are you worried about your next paycheck? Maybe you own a business. Do you have the coronavirus? We want to hear from you at 702-257-5396. Coming up here at 11 a.m., we're going to be speaking with a man by the name of Carl Goldman. He was on the Diamond Princess cruise. He owns radio stations out there, I believe, in California. He contracted the virus. He was put in quarantine, didn't see his wife for months. My understanding is in the course of the last week, he finally has been okayed to go home. So it'll be a really interesting conversation with Carl Goldman coming up in hour number 3. But as I said, this show's about you. We want to take your phone calls. We want to hear from you. Questions, comments, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, thanks for waiting patiently on hold, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay, Brian and JD. We check our temperature every morning, and I finally found out that there is one thing normal about me right now.
What's that?
My temperature.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing. We're happy to hear that. You're being vigilant with your wife.
I want to make a couple of points. One is that the 1918 influenza epidemic, oftentimes the people who died were those who were young and healthy and had stronger immune systems, because it was the immune system response that got them into trouble. And with this virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, a lot of times what's happening is that you get these high fevers, you get the pneumonia, and oftentimes that's your own body's response that ends up killing you. So don't be too sanguine about having a strong immune system. The really strong immune systems are called autoimmune diseases like lupus and so forth.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Can I ask you, if you don't mind, you're married, right, sir?
Yes.
If you don't mind answering this, how is this? I mean, how long have you been married for, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, not at all. 1998. So
thank you. There's a reason why I asked that, sir, because as JD mentioned, and I agree with him, this could affect some relationships, and it kind of puts you to the test. How has it been with your wife? Being in quarantined in your home. Are you guys getting along okay? Are you guys getting a little nasty at each other from time to time? Because I live by myself, and I'm getting nasty with myself. I'm in a bad mood. I mean, so seriously, so how are you guys able to handle this? Being basically trapped in your home.
Well, you have to keep a sense of humor with each other, and a little bit of space doesn't hurt occasionally, and allow everybody their own bit of life, so to speak. That we don't always have the same interests and so forth, so you give them a space and they give you a little space, and it seems to work out that way.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and thank you for calling in, and I'm glad you're being vigilant and you're washing your hands, and I'm glad things are going good with your wife. I was just curious because, I don't live with anybody else. I like living alone, and I would imagine this is certainly affecting some people in their relationships, and it's putting them to the test. I think that's very fair to say.
I've, Brian, begun watching Narcos.
What's Narcos?
This is Jason, the producer, but JD's having his morning constitutional.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Narcos is a show on Netflix. It's about Pablo Escobar and the narcotics trafficking back in the 80s in Colombia.
No porn? You haven't watched any porn?
So I'm not getting upset with myself because I'm keeping myself distracted.
More porn than usual for you? Because I know you're a guy that enjoys his pornography.
No, it's the same amount. There's only so much you can watch.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Just wanted to get an update on that.
We got Ron on the line.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. We want to hear from you, the locals out there. How are you guys dealing with this? Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man.
Anyway,
doing well, Ron.
Hey, Brian. Once again, I want to commend you with Wayne Allen Root. I don't listen to him anymore, nor do I care to. But
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ron.
Well, he's scared. He's a scaremonger to me. All right.
I can totally understand. I could totally understand why you would say that, and I think we exposed him for that. So I appreciate those kind words, Ron. How are you dealing with this, my man?
Well, I'm a local truck driver in construction right now, so I'm going to go back to freight later. So I'm pretty blessed being able to work right now out in the open, away from people. So I'm doing good. By the way, I like you a lot, Brian, but I think you're an undercover Democrat. Nothing. No offense. No offense.
Well, listen. No offense taken, Ron. You're entitled to that opinion. I will say this, and I will be intellectually honest when I say this. Certainly, I lean more to the left when it comes to some issues. But listen, I'm for border security. I've always been for the death penalty, and there are some things that Republicans have done that I am for. I also I've always supported Mitt Romney and John McCain. There are a lot of Democrats that I would never support, and I haven't even said that I would vote for Joe Biden. And it looks like Joe Biden is going to be the guy that's running against Trump. So I can understand why you might think that, because I can't stand the president. But if you want to call me a Democrat or you think I lean to the left, I don't have a problem with that. It's the people that assume that I'm a liberal just because I don't like Donald Trump Ron. Those are the people that I get frustrated with. I appreciate the phone call. Stay safe, my friend. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Doug. Doug, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up,
Hey, guys.
Doug?
How you doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Hey, just to comment on the last caller, Brian, I think party line voting is dangerous because there's wacko Democrats, there's wacko Republicans. So,
Doug, I agree. I agree 100%. And let me just make a quick point. And then Doug, I'll let you go. Just from what you just said, I think the two worst words in this country are Republican and Democrat. And the reason why I say that is because I think people vote for their party before the country. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Doug, I agree with you.
Or even before themselves. They vote for their party before themselves. They vote. There's an expectation of what they should vote for, but then that goes against what is actually going on and what
that
benefits
doesn't help
them
us.
in their personal
And
life.
and
happens a
JD,
lot.
JD and Doug, this doesn't help us right now because we're trying to get this coronavirus stimulus package gone through, and they can't even get that to go through. I mean, it's a joke.
One last comment. I listened to your guys' show more than anybody else's. I mean, the great interview last Friday, great debate between you guys. I mean, that's what this should be about, talking about opinions. And obviously, I have to get some facts out there, but it's entertaining radio. You guys do a great job.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks a lot,
we
Doug.
really appreciate that. And to be honest with you, yes, we want to get information out there. Yes, we want to be factual. But let's be honest, we're also in the business of entertaining people, maybe put a smile on your face in very difficult times. So, Doug, I'm really glad that we're doing that for you, and we appreciate that. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Nathan. Nathan, you are next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Nathan?
Yeah, hey, so what I wanted to ask is that you said earlier that Ron Paul said the coronavirus is a hoax, and what exactly did you mean by that?
Well, Ron Paul wrote an article, I believe it was March 17th. Maybe our producer can write it up or check on that for us. But he wrote an article last week attacking Democrats and saying that it was a hoax, pushing forward this coronavirus as being a pandemic. Now, the reason why I brought that up, normally I wouldn't even bring up Ron Paul, but the reason why I brought that up is because his son just contracted the virus. And I think it's important, let alone for a radio talk show host, it's important for a politician, a well-known one, to make those types of statements. And I think we have some information.
To answer the question, Nathan, 6 days before the diagnosis, he wrote an article with his father, Ron Paul and Rand Paul, I guess, together, published March 16th. In the piece, Ron Paul said governments love crises because when the people are fearful, they are more willing to give up freedoms or promises that the government will take care of them. And the title of the article was, quote, the coronavirus hoax.
Right. I mean, this is the tale that Ron Paul is putting together with his son, and now his son has the virus. I think it's important to, for lack of a better term, expose these people.
Well, it's pretty ironic.
Yeah.
If there's one senator on the Republican side that has the coronavirus, I'm not shocked at all that it's Rand Paul.
Does that make sense to you, sir? Did we lose you? I think we lost him.
Of course. Now, this article was written by the father, but
doesn't matter.
You know.
That's why. And by the way, I didn't say Rand Paul. I said Ron Paul. And then I said Rand Paul's the idiot that gets the virus, and then he decides to work out in the gyms there, the senator gyms and the pools.
Again, not
he's a moron.
Not a giant surprise.
No, we shouldn't be surprised. I agree. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Davis. Davis, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up,
Good
Davis?
morning, guys. Hope you're doing good. So when the history of this is written, we'll have to go back to November, December when all the news was coming out of China. And then, the rhetorical question then is, who should have warned Italy, Spain, Germany, France? I mean, certainly, without even getting into Donald Trump, it wouldn't have been his job to warn them. And Fauci said last night that Italy should have stopped the primary carriers from China.
I agree with that. You bring up some good points.
JD was talking about hotspots. There's 3 in the U.S., and Fauci said those were all created by primary carriers, Northern California, Seattle, and New York City. So when it's written, it's going to go back, and then you're going to have to look at whose job is it to watch out for these pandemics. It's the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
And what did they do? Go back and look at all their tweets all the way through, even in January, late January. They're still saying that it's not contagious between humans.
Right.
Flights are coming out of China.
They were saying it wasn't transmittable.
All of this is the World Health Organization. Donald Trump isn't responsible for. Can I finish? Donald Trump isn't responsible for Spain or France or Italy. You can't blame him for that, can you?
Davis, here's my response. Let me start from square one. There is no question that China is the culprit here. There is no question, based on the evidence that we now have, that they tried to cover this thing up. There is no question that that's where the majority of this blame is.
To uncover it.
Well, obviously the government covered it up.
The World Health Organization.
Yeah, well,
listen. U.S. government's not protecting Italy.
I'm not talking about the U.S. government. I'm not talking about the U.S.
World Health Organization should have warned them. Don't let them fly. This thing is nasty.
I get it.
This is the worst pandemic.
Okay, but hold on.
In modern history, and the World Health Organization missed it.
Yeah, the issue is China was not giving the World Health Organization accurate information, and the World Health Organization was taking that information as truth when it actually wasn't true, and that definitely created this misunderstanding of how this disease was not as contagious as it clearly is.
There's no question
between people.
There's no question that there has to be some accountability, but right now, what we're talking about on this show, sure, we're talking about accountability, and we're talking about how, yes, I do believe that our administration has failed us just after 9/11. I believe after 9/11, our administration failed us then as well. But right now, obviously, the focal point here, and this is what I appreciate about Cuomo over there in New York, he hasn't trashed the president at all. He's just said, Mr. President, here's what we need. We need help. I think he's showing a tremendous amount of leadership. We need that from all of our politicians, all of our governors throughout the country. We need leadership. Now's the time to step up.
By the way, how about Elon Musk of Tesla creating all these ventilators and spreading them out throughout the United States? That's pretty cool.
Well, it is cool. I hope it's enough. We need more people to step up.
It should be enough.
We have a serious epidemic going on right now.
If this treatment, if this chloroquine azithromycin combination is successful, it should be enough.
Now's your time. If you want to join into the program, give us a call, 702-257-5396. We want to hear from you. This show is about you. Since this coronavirus outbreak, we want to hear from you locals out there. How are you dealing with this? How did you deal with your weekend, by the way, in Las Vegas? Are you the type of person that usually stays at home anyway? Well, then it may not affect you as much as others. But if you're the type of person that likes to be out a lot like me, I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind. I'm doing a radio show from my kitchen table. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I believe Kevin is up next. Kevin, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just keep hearing it. You guys keep trying to, some of you guys keep trying to downplay the seriousness of this.
I'm not doing that at all, sir. With all due respect, I'm doing the opposite.
I'm talking about JD. JD.
I got you. All right, talk to JD. Go ahead.
I'm not downplaying any. All I'm saying is that we don't know how many people in the United States have this virus. This virus would be confused for the flu under standard circumstances, and flu deaths this season are not very high. What I'm saying is the mortality rate might be much less because there could be a lot of people in the United States that don't have the virus, that aren't showing symptoms, that aren't getting sick. That's all I'm saying. I'm not downplaying anything.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Have the infection. Their symptoms, they tell you it's like getting hit by a freight train. And the flu is something wicked. But this one has a sleeper's component to it. And when you go down, you go to the emergency room. Most people have compared it to an elephant sitting on their chest. You didn't describe none of that with your wife's symptoms. Sounded like you had a real bad case of the flu. Okay? But to try to spin it off and to give Trump some kind of a cover is ridiculous. But, you guys do keep doing it. The other thing I was just thinking about, I just say you guys open the doors back up. You open up the casinos, and people are still getting sick during the summer. Would not open up the casinos to lawsuits. Say I stayed there for 3 weeks, and I haven't been sick all this time, but I get sick in the Bellagio after you guys open back up. Would I have a legitimate lawsuit to sue the hell out of the Bellagio?
Right. No, listen, you make some good points. Just to be clear on this, I have never downplayed this. Yeah, I just want to be. No, I understand. I just want to be clear. This is let's both be clear. This is a very serious situation. Very serious. Now, a few weeks ago, I'll take ownership of this. 2 weeks ago, I was making fun of people for going into Costco and Walmart and buying $300 worth of toilet paper. By the way, I stand by those comments. If you're one of these, listen, I know somebody, I'm not going to say their name because I might get hurt, but I know somebody that actually went into Costco and spent $1,000. I was in their garage, okay? I'm not kidding, folks. You had enough toilet paper to go number 2 for 10 years. I saw that in his garage along with a lifetime supply of Gatorade.
So it looks like a military commissary.
It was nuts. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? First of all, these supermarkets are not closing down. That's number one. And number two, when you think of the coronavirus, the first thing that enters your mind is, how am I going to be able to wipe my ass? Like, I don't understand the way these people think.
Well, this is it, Brian. This is up to the stores individually to set limits on things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people, human nature is, they're going to go into survival mode and they're going to be selfish because that's what a lot of people do.
Right.
I mean, there's a story out of British Columbia of a guy who filled his cart with two carts full of meat, of raw meat from the meat aisle in British Columbia, and now he's getting death threats. And he feels so guilty he's actually donated the meat.
I would. I've been trying to find meat for 3 days.
People will do that.
I can't find.
If you have the money to do it,
I had to go to 4 stores yesterday to get baby wipes from my daughter. I'm dead serious. I finally found the last 3 packs of baby wipes, of diaper wipes, at a Walgreens, but I had to go to 4 stores. I mean, people are being ridiculous right now, and the stores aren't stopping it. They're not curbing it, and they should be.
And it's worse than that. I mean, I've been seeing reports of hospitals around the country saying, "Please, we need masks." So people are actually taking things that are medical necessities.
And in New York City, they've created it's called an army of volunteers who are sewing these masks for their nurses and for the people who work in the hospital.
All right, let's take a quick break. And as I said, this show is about you. We want to hear from you. We've heard from so many of our great listeners and local callers that are buzzing in. We want to hear from you. How are you dealing with this? How did you deal with the weekend of living in Las Vegas, not being able to go anywhere or do, for the most part, anything? Number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the program, give us a buzz at 257-5396. More of your calls on the other side of the break. Well, you're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Corona Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not talking about alcohol. How did you deal with the weekend? I mean, I was going out of my mind here. I'm the type of guy, I like to go to casinos. I gamble once in a while. I'll play poker. I like to go out with people to restaurants. I like to go to shows. I like to go out and have fun. And listen, I like to unwind in my house and watch television, but what I don't like to do is to watch it 24/7 with nothing else to do. And listen, you could be saying, "Oh, Brian, you should be out. You should be taking walks and jogging." Look, I like to play sports and stuff. I'm afraid to go to the basketball courts.
Really?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
And I didn't talk about this the first segment, but it was actually very serene for me. It was curious. I was curious how quiet Vegas was on Saturday. I was surprised how quiet Las Vegas was. But I slept a lot. I worked on our proposal to syndicate the show coast to coast. I watched about 15 episodes of The Walking Dead, and then my wife and my daughter and I made a homemade pizza together, which was actually very fun on Saturday. So I actually had a pretty good weekend, Brian.
Homemade pizza. Well, I watched a little bit of sumo wrestling with Chris Wynn, who I think could be a great sumo wrestler himself.
I agree. He's got a future in that.
Yeah, went to 7-Eleven. That was about as exciting as my weekend was. Let's take some more of your calls at 702-257-5396. We want to hear from you. Let's go to Renee. Renee, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Renee?
Hi. I have a question. There's 1.8 billion people in China, right?
Somewhere around there. I'll take your word for it.
It's over 1 billion.
Okay, and how many people have been infected over there?
About 82,000.
Okay, doesn't that seem like a wide range of people compared to the people that are getting this virus?
Well, my response to that would be this. Even if it is a lower percentage in China, we still have to be vigilant, I'm sure you would agree with me, Renee, when I say we all have to take this seriously. There's a reason why all this stuff is shut down, right? I mean, think about it from this perspective, Renee, and not to get Trump involved here, but I will. No. You know how badly Trump wants this economy to work, if not for you, for him.
Well, it was working, Brian.
Let me finish.
It was working. It was working at a very high level.
I understand.
The stock market was as high as it's ever been before this happened.
But you didn't let me finish my point. I agree with you, okay? The reason why I bring up Donald Trump is even he is the one that is not necessarily speaking out against some of these government shutdowns. So Renee, that this is a very serious situation.
Oh, yeah.
And it might not get better anytime soon.
Well, no, he's starting to speak out against the shutdowns.
Okay, but
the tweet from yesterday where he said, "We'll see what happens after 15 days." the cure cannot be worse than the problem was very, very telling as far as what Trump is trying to do.
Okay, but point I'm trying to make is, most of the country could be on a government shutdown. You know the situation, Renee, that we're dealing with here in Las Vegas. These are serious times. That's the only point I'm trying to make here.
Oh.
Anything else you want to add to that, Renee?
Yeah, I think that people need to be worried more about wearing gloves than they do masks.
Well, I agree. I think gloves would be more effective than masks. Here's what I'll tell you about masks, and this isn't my opinion, Renee, and I agree with you, but we've had doctors on this show, and what they've said about these masks is this. The only way it can help people is if you have a virus, you're not spreading it to other people. But if you don't have the virus, it's not going to help you. In fact, some studies show that it hurts you more. How? Well, I'll tell you how. Doctors are saying that if you're wearing one of these masks, you're more susceptible to scratching your face, itching your nose and eyes, because, let's be honest, wearing one of these masks, it's not comfortable.
No, it's very odd.
Yeah.
It's very unusual.
So I don't understand these people. I just want to say to some of these people that are walking into these supermarkets and stuff, why are you wearing a mask? It's not going to help you. It'll hinder you more than help you. Gloves could probably be a better thing. So our videographer is Campaign. He's sitting right beside me here. He does a great job in broadcasting our stuff through YouTube. He's been wearing a mask every day when he's come in to help us with this show. So, Campaign, my question to you is, if we can hear you through that mask, why are you wearing it?
To prevent all of you guys from maybe catching it from me, because I still am out in traffic and I have other clients.
So you're being thoughtful to us. Well, we appreciate that then. Well, okay. Well, that makes sense then. Then I appreciate that. Now, if you said, I thought you were going to say, I don't want to get the virus from you dirty guys, then I would have had a problem with it. But
I would
Campaign is a very
have
thoughtful
not
guy.
had a problem with that, because there's some truth to it, Brian.
Campaign is certainly more thoughtful than I am.
This
we appreciate
isn't
that.
exactly the cleanest of establishments.
No,
but
it's not.
I do enjoy the toilet paper, though, Brian, just so you know.
Yeah, I did. So, I was having some issues getting toilet paper, but I got stocked up.
And she brings up a good point. The Chinese population is over 1 billion people, 80,000. And again, those numbers, considering China has no problem just hiding numbers, the numbers could be a lot higher than that. We really don't know. But if you look at the actual per capita, per million, the actual number of viruses on a per country basis, Italy has about 800 per million people. United States is at about 75.
702-257-5396. Let's try to squeeze in another call. Let's get to Lisa. Lisa, you're up next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Lisa?
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
A lot actually. So I'm kind of how do you say unclear as to what topic to discuss for this morning. Just for this particular morning alone. Love life, is that a part of you guys' issues that you guys do you work on those issues like that?
What issues? I'm sorry. Can you ask that question again?
Yeah. What areas in life are we talking about? Are we talking politically? Mother Earth, nature.
We're talking about everything We're talking about across the board, but we're talking about it from a human perspective of how people in Las Vegas are dealing with this coronavirus.
Oh, are we talking about that? Well, I've been in. I'm for me personally, and that's the reason why I'm calling is because way before this thing came about, I was already put in an arranged situation where it's just as similar as the coronavirus. Quarantine, is that how you say it? Quarantine? Quarantine? The arrangement where people have to stay at home.
You're saying quarantine.
I think what she was trying to say is quarantine. We appreciate that. I'm sorry I have to cut you short because we got to get to one other caller, then we got to go to break.
Lisa.
Let's go to Brian. Brian, I got about 30 seconds for you, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, perfect. I don't want to say who I work for, but it's not government or anything like that. And we were issued moving permits this morning from Department of Homeland Security.
Really? So what do you make of that, Brian?
Well, it states on there that we are essential business, so it's for us to show to authorities if we get pulled over.
Yes, and I saw that circulating online over the weekend, and I didn't think it was that actually happened. You live in Nevada?
Yes, sir.
Well, Brian, we appreciate that information. Unfortunately, I'm up against a hard break, so I would love to ask you some more questions. But, Brian, keep up the good work, my friend. I think that is very telling that they are afraid that people like you could be pulled over. What does that mean for us coming up next? So, speaking of coming up next, a guy who contracted the coronavirus from California, he was on the Diamond Princess cruise. His name is Carl Goldman. He has now finally been able to go back to his family. We'll talk to Carl Goldman live coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.